I was thinking about the four teams that are left in the NAIA Football Championship Series, those final four teams or Fab Four or whatever the NAIA wants to call them. I'm happy to go along with that. But the last four teams that are left, there's a lot of defense that's on display from those four teams. But you know what? There's a lot of offense that's on display too. And there's good quarterback play, but also some pretty good receivers. And that's what I was thinking about today, specifically those Morningside receivers. And we've known for years that Morningside can score points. And Morningside really throws the ball well. I mean, Coach Ryan utilizes what he has. He's had some good quarterbacks. You look back to Trent Solzma, fantastic quarterback play from him. You look back also to Joe Dolanchek right after Solzma. Very good quarterback play from him as well. And Coach Ryan utilizes what's available at his disposal. I mean, if he has somebody that can run the ball, like say a Brandon Wager from 2014, he still has the record in the NAIA for single season rushing yards. Now, he was with the Mustangs only a couple of years before he moved on to Iowa, but still, Coach Ryan has been able to utilize who he has and get the most out of the players that are on his roster. He recruits pretty well too. Got to give a shout out to that. But I was thinking about Drew Sellon. Sellon's leading the way for Morningside this year. He's just a sophomore, and he already has 1,658 passing yards for the season. And that, was what caught my attention because it is now at the top of the list for receiving yards for 2024. Now, it's not the only thing that Sellon's at the top of the list of. He actually set a new record for Morningside way back in their first GPAC game, their first conference game. He caught 18 passes from Zach Chevalier over the course of that day. And that's a record for Morningside. And that's really what got me thinking about this. There have been some great quarterbacks. When you look at Trent Solzma, you look at Joe Dolanchek, that's who Zach Chevalier may wind up being as one of those in that mold. We'll see how the playoffs really wind down and if he's able to take his team to a championship. I think that's really part of the mark there with these quarterbacks from Morningside. But he throws the ball very, very well, and maybe that's another video in and of itself. But for what Drew Sellon has done, he's caught those 18 receptions back in week 2, I believe, may have been week 1. I think the Benedictine game was week 0. So he has that record to his credit. But 1,658 receiving yards, that's not a bad number at all. As a matter of fact, it's third for Morningside all time in a single season. Now, it's going to be behind Connor Niles because everyone's behind Connor Niles on that list and behind Trey Johnson as well. But that's not a bad number, and he still has at least one more game that he can add to that number on the single season list. And then I thought about career yards. Well, he's starting to rack those up as well. 2,300 career receiving yards for Drew Sellon, and that is just as a sophomore. Now, where does that put him on the all-time list for Morningside outside of the top 10? Just barely. I think he's in at number 11 right now with 2,300, but he has a teammate that is on that list, and he has climbed up, and he continues to climb, and that's Zach Norton. The senior is he's among the best all-time. He has more than 3,800 career receiving yards for Morningside, and that is good enough to put him at number 4 on the all-time career receiving yard list, and that's a pretty good number for Norton as well. And considering that he's behind Connor Niles, of course, as we mentioned, and behind Reed Juergensmeyer, as we mentioned. I didn't mention him yet. I should have. He's on that list too. And then, of course, he was teammates with Austin Johnson, so he's just a little ways behind those 3 receivers for Morningside. There's one more, by the way, Lennox Brown, who's a junior this year, the converted quarterback. He's nearly at 1,000 yards this season. He could make some noise as well. But shout out, by the way, to Morningside. Overall, I mean, this is a team that's a quality team on defense this year, but you can't ever take away from the Morningside offense and what the Mustangs can do to put points on the board. And definitely those quarterbacks, those receivers have made their mark in the NAIA and specifically in that Mustangs record book over the years. And recently, there have just been some big names. And Drew Sellon and Zach Norton definitely are a couple of names that are on that list. And, of course, a few more years now for Sellon to add to his already solid numbers. But 1,658 for the season for Drew Sellon, We'll see how those numbers grow this Saturday, and if there is a Saturday beyond that as well. That's what I was thinking about today. What are you thinking about today? Let me know, and we might talk about that as well here on Midwest Sportsnet. In the meantime, thanks for listening to me as I get to think out loud for just a little bit here. God bless you. Have a great day.